1. A new start. Mr. Duncan? Come in, please. Mr. Wilson will see you now. Thank you. John Duncan stood up and walked nervously towards the door. He was a tall, thin man, about 45 years old, in an old grey suit. It was his best suit, but it was 10 years old now. He had grey hair and glasses. His face looked sad and tired. Inside the room, a man stood up to welcome him. Mr. Duncan, pleased to meet you. My name's David Wilson. This is one of our chemists, Mary Carter. John Duncan shook hands with both of them and sat down. It was a big office, with a thick carpet on the floor and beautiful pictures on the walls. David Wilson was a young man, in an expensive black suit. He had a big gold ring on one finger. He smiled at John. I asked Miss Carter to come because she's one of our best chemists. She discovered our wonderful new paint, in fact. If you come to work here, you will work with her. Oh, I see. John looked at Mary. She was older than Wilson, about 35 perhaps, with short brown hair and a pretty, friendly face. She was wearing a white coat with a lot of pens in the top pocket. She smiled at him kindly, but John felt miserable. I'll never get this job, he thought. I'm too old. Employers want younger people these days. David Wilson was looking at some papers. Now, Mr. Duncan, he said, I see that you are a very good biologist. You worked at a university, and then for 2 very famous companies. But you stopped working as a biologist 9 years ago. Why was that? I've always had 2 interests in my life, John said. Biology and boats. My wife was a famous sailor, Rachel Horsley. Perhaps you remember her. She sailed around the world alone in a small boat. Yes, said David Wilson. I remember her. So we started a business, said John. We made small boats together and sold them. And did the business go well? Asked Wilson. Very well at first. Then we wanted to build bigger, better boats. We borrowed too much money. And then my wife... John stopped speaking. Yes, the Sevens race. I remember now, said David Wilson. Both men were silent for a moment. Wilson remembered the newspaper reports of the storm and the lives lost at sea. He looked at the man who sat sadly in front of him. So, after my wife died, continued John, I closed the business. That was 5 years ago. I see, said David Wilson. It's a hard world, the world of business. He looked at John's old grey suit. So now you want a job as a biologist. Well, this is a chemical company, Mr. Duncan. We make paint. But we need a biologist to make sure that everything in this factory is safe. We want someone to tell the government that it's safe to work here, and that it's safe to have a paint factory near the town. That's important to us. And if something's not safe, then of course we'll change it, Mary Carter said. David Wilson looked at her, but he didn't say anything. "Yes, I see," John began nervously. "Well, I think I could do that. I mean, when I worked for Harper Chemicals in London, He talked for 2 or 3 minutes about his work. David Wilson listened, but he didn't say anything. Then he smiled. It was a cold, hard smile, and it made John feel uncomfortable. He remembered his old suit and grey hair, and he wished he hadn't come. "You really need this job, don't you, Mr. Duncan?" David Wilson said. "You need it a lot." "Yes, I do," he said quietly. But he thought, "I hate you, Wilson. You're enjoying this. You like making people feel small. I hate people like you." Wilson's smile grew bigger. He stood up and held out his hand. "Okay," he said. "When can you start?" "What?" John was very surprised. "What did you say?" "I said, when can you start, Mr. Duncan? We need you in our factory as soon as possible. Will Monday be okay?" "You mean I've got the job?" "Of course. Congratulations." Wilson shook John's hand. "My secretary will tell you about your pay. You'll have your own office and a company car, of course. I'd like you to start work with Mary on Monday. Is that okay?" Yes, of course. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much." 2. At home. "Hi, Dad. Your supper's in the kitchen." John's 16-year-old daughter, Christine, was sitting at the table doing her homework. His son, Andrew, who was 13, was watching television. "Thanks, Christine," John said. "I'm sorry I'm late. Is everything okay?" "Fine, thanks." Christine gave him a quick smile, then continued with her work. John got his food from the kitchen. Fried fish and chips. The food was dry and didn't taste very good. But he didn't say anything about that. John was not a good cook himself, and his children were no better. His wife had been a good cook, he remembered. John tried to eat the terrible supper, and looked around the small, miserable flat. The furniture was 20 years old. The wallpaper and carpets were cheap and dirty. The rooms were all small, and he could see no trees or gardens from the windows, just the lights from hundreds of other flats. And there were books, clothes, and newspapers on the floor. Once, when his wife had been alive, he had had a fine house, a beautiful, big house in the country, with a large garden. They had had lots of new furniture, 2 cars, expensive holidays, everything they needed. He had had a good job. They hadn't needed to think about money. And then he had started the boat-building company, and his luck had ended. When Rachel had died, John had been terribly unhappy. Much too unhappy to think about business. A few months later, his company had closed, and he had lost all his money. John had had to sell his beautiful house in the country and move to this miserable flat. And for the last 2 years, he hadn't had a job at all. He was a poor man, and an unlucky one too. He had tried for lots of jobs, and got none of them. There were too many bright young biologists. But now that was all going to change. He looked at his daughter and smiled. "Did you have a good day at school, Christine?" he asked her. "Oh, all right, I suppose," she said. She didn't look very happy. "I've got a letter for you." She pushed the letter across the table, and he opened it. It was from her school. One of the teachers was taking the children on a skiing holiday to the mountains in Switzerland. It cost £400 for 10 days. Parents who wanted their children to go had to send the money to the school before February the 25th. John's smile grew bigger. "Do you want to go on this holiday, Christine?" he asked. She looked at him strangely. "Of course I do, Dad," she said. "But I can't, can I? We haven't got £400. "No, I suppose not." He looked at her carefully through his thick glasses. She was a clever, strong girl, good at her schoolwork, good at sports. But she had never been skiing. John hadn't had enough money. "Are your friends going?" he asked her. "Some of them, yes. Miranda, Jane, Nigel. The rich ones, you know. But they often go skiing. It's easy for them." "I know I can't go, Dad. Throw the letter away." John looked at her, and felt his heart beating quickly. "No, don't do that, Christine," he said. "Perhaps you can go if you want to. Why not?" Christine laughed. "What's happened, Dad? Have you robbed a bank or something?" John stood up. He went into the kitchen and got himself a drink. "No," he said when he came back. "But something interesting happened today. Put your homework away, Christine. And turn that TV off, Andrew. I've got something to tell you." "Oh, not now, Dad," said Andrew. "This is an exciting story." John smiled. "I've got an exciting story too, Andrew. Come and listen." John Duncan's children lived in an old, untidy flat. They had no money, and they often ate awful food. But they could still talk to their father. So Andrew turned off the TV and sat down in a big armchair beside his father and Christine. The story didn't sound very exciting at first. "I went to a factory today," John said, That paint factory by the river. No, wait, Andrew. Paint factories can be very exciting. They gave me a job there. I'm going to have my own office, a big car, lots of money. In fact, we're going to be rich. 3. Rich man. John Duncan started work on Monday, and Mary Carter showed him round the factory. The most important thing that the company produced was a new paint for cars. It was a very strong, hard paint, which nothing could damage. Mary and her chemists had developed it, and they had tested it all over the world. Neither acid nor salt water could damage it, and cars came back from both the Arctic and the Sahara looking like new. The company was beginning to make a lot of money from this paint, and it had brought 400 new jobs to the town. One day, when he was working with the paint, John spilt some of the waste products on his leg. He cleaned it off quickly, but it left a red, painful place on his skin, which would not go away. It kept him awake at night. He told his doctor what he had spilt on it, and the doctor looked at him strangely. So, these chemicals had something to do with the new paint, did they? The doctor asked carefully. Yes, I told you. It was a bottle of the waste products. I was looking at them in my office. I see. The doctor looked out of the window thoughtfully. His fingers moved quietly on his desk. And your company is producing a lot of these waste products now, I suppose? Yes, of course. John was in a hurry. He had to meet someone important in 10 minutes. Look, can you give me something to put on it or not? Oh, yes. The doctor began to write something on a piece of paper. Put this on, night and morning, and the pain will go in a day or two. But I'm afraid the skin there will stay red for a year or two. They're nasty chemicals, Mr. Duncan, you know. Yes, I know. John smiled at him. But don't worry, Doctor. We're very careful with them in the factory. No one can go near them without special safe clothing. You can come and see if you like. I'm very pleased to hear it, said the doctor. He gave the piece of paper to John. Thank you, said John. He went towards the door. Mr. Duncan? Yes? John looked back, surprised. Where do these waste products go when the factory has finished with them? Into the river? Well, yes, of course, said John. But it's all right, you know, he added quickly. It's very carefully checked all the time. It's a big river, and we only produce a few 100 litres of the waste products a day, and we're only 2 kilometres from the sea after all. Good, said the doctor. I wouldn't want anyone to drink those waste products, that's all. They won't, Doctor, said John. All the drinking water comes out of the river 5 kilometres upstream, you know that. Who's going to drink salt water from the river mouth, for heaven's sake? Chemists from London have checked it too, you know, and our company lawyers know all about it. So it's not dangerous, and we're not doing anything wrong. Don't worry about it." He went out of the door, and after half an hour he had forgotten the conversation. He was a very busy man now. All day he had to test different types of paints and make sure they were safe. He was also busy buying a big, comfortable house for his family, with a large field beside it, where Christine could keep a horse. The house was 1/2 kilometre from the sea, and its gardens went down to the river. There was an empty boathouse there. "Can we have a boat, Dad?" Andrew asked. "I mean, not now, of course, but one day, when you've finished paying for the house, perhaps." John laughed. His children had been poor for so long, but now he could buy them anything they wanted. "You can have a boat now if you want, my son," he said happily. "If I can afford a big house like this, I can certainly afford a small boat. We'll go fishing every week, shall we? And I'll teach you both to sail in the evenings. I've always wanted to do that, you know." He could not believe how lucky he was. He had a good job at last, a fine home, and his children had everything they wanted. He only wished his wife, Rachel, was alive to enjoy it with him. There was only one thing that he could not give his children now. He could not give them back their mother.